大家好，我的名字陈大伟，我是 Okay, I'm going to stop showing off now. Greetings and thank you all for coming to the 2013 New Covenant School graduation ceremony. My name is David Spearman. Before I begin, a quick request. Obviously, I am recording this, so I can't interact with you like most speakers would. So for your fellow audience members' sake, I would ask that you hold any applause, laughter, boos, hisses, jeers, or rotten tomatoes for the end of this recording. Thank you. I'm recording this from the Shutian train station in southern Taiwan. For those of you who don't know, I have spent the 2012-2013 school year studying abroad in Taiwan. Tonight, I want to tell you about my exchange experience, and specifically about how my time at New Covenant has helped me during my exchange year. Over the past few years, New Covenant has been both praised and criticized for its less common classes. Whether you like or dislike those classes, I can say with confidence that they have been the most helpful while I was in Taiwan. One of the most controversial classes has been drama. Many parents have wished that they could spend more time with their child rather than having them attend rehearsals every night. Some even went so far as to say that drama wasn't a useful class. However, I disagree. One of the greatest virtues someone can possess is empathy. The ability to climb into someone else's head, walk a mile in their skin. I spent my nights at rehearsal practicing that very ability. When you have a script that you need to bring to life, you really learn just how wide the gap that separates words on paper from a real character is. However, that's the challenge that makes empathy so difficult. For someone else, all you have is the things they say and do, words on paper. There have been times during my exchange when I saw someone doing or saying something that I found bizarre or just stupid. However, during my acting career at New Covenant, I practiced understanding the feelings and motivations of such diverse characters as an 18th century French revolutionary, a 16th century fairy tale character, and a primordial omnipotent married fairy king. After all that, empathizing with 21st century upper middle class Taiwanese people has not been a problem. Okay, there were a few problems, but you get the picture. Another class which helped me immeasurably was Bible class. Most, or probably all, Christian schools have some kind of Bible class. But Bible classes, like so many things, are different here. At New Covenant, Bible class was apologetics focused. However, we also focused on how our highest duty as Christians was to love others. In Bible class, I learned both how to be open with my faith and how not to be a jerk about it. 85% of Taiwanese are some kind of combination of Buddhist, Confucianist, or Taoist, and most of my fellow exchange students are atheists or agnostics. Despite this, I do not feel I have compromised my faith to conform to the crowd. More importantly, or as importantly, when I asked one of my friends, an atheist, whether I had lowered or raised his opinion of Christians, he didn't hesitate before he said that I had raised it. He said, quote, "You showed me that all Christians are not like the Christians who make the news." Finally, I want to talk about things New Covenant offers which, though they're less tangible than the classes on the schedule, are at least as important. Simply being a student here, being part of the New Covenant culture, will teach you invaluable lessons. At New Covenant, our culture is one of questioning, not for its own sake, but to further understand it. This does play an important role in the classroom, but it is no less important outside the classroom. For example, if one student says, "I love One Direction," his classmates can't get away with saying, "They're stupid, you're dumb." Instead, the teachers here try to get students to ask, why do you like them? This makes the first student question whether One Direction is really worth spending money on, and makes her classmates listen to reasons why maybe One Direction isn't so bad after all. Or to take another example, imagine one person says, I believe that all life is suffering and that by transcending suffering we reach nirvana, a higher plane of existence. Instead of saying something antagonizing, another person opens dialogue between the two, and even if neither side is convinced of the other position's validity, they both consider things which maybe they hadn't thought of before, and gain new respect for the other as being good, decent, thoughtful person, even if they're ultimately wrong. By the way, in that example, the second person was me, and the first was a Buddhist nun who was playing tour guide at a temple I visited last weekend. The last virtue of New Covenant which I want to extol is its size. The problems of having a small school are fairly obvious. Few extracurricular activities, limited social groups, etc. However, the virtues of a small school are also pretty clear. High amounts of teacher-student interaction, easier class trips, and so on. But I want to talk to you about one virtue which you might not have considered. Limited social groups. I know I just named that as a problem, but I think it's also a virtue. I can tell you why in 2 words. Lauren Morton. If you were living under a rock while we were at New Covenant together, you probably still heard Lauren and I shouting at each other. We did not get along at all for about 2 months. Then the Cold War between us finally came to a head. But instead of a mutually assured expulsion doomsday scenario, Lauren and I, with more than a little help from our teachers, realized that things would be far better for both of us if we just got along. We started talking to each other, not at each other. Instead of an arrogant jerk, Lauren started to see me as someone who didn't particularly like to interact with people and who wasn't very good at it. Instead of a shallow moron, I came to realize that Lauren, though she wasn't as good as me at math, had plenty of her own virtues and was better with people at 16 than I will ever be in my life. We came to tolerate each other. When we acted together in A Midsummer Night's Dream, we became fast friends. And when I came to give a presentation to the New Covenant Chapel before I left for Taiwan, she gave me the biggest hug. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm at my Taiwanese school for the first time, and I meet a 14-year-old German version of Lauren. Brenda Biesdorfer, for some reason, decided to spend a year abroad when she was a freshman in high school, or whatever the German equivalent is. Now, 2 years earlier, I had almost come to blows with a 16-year-old extroverted girl. Now, confronted with pretty much the same kind of person, only with 2 years less maturity and humility, I can not only say that I didn't murder Brenda, I can say that we're friends. The reason is because I was forced to get along with Lauren. Some of our conversations played out very similarly. If New Covenant had been bigger, I would have sat as far as possible from Lauren. We would have had different groups of friends, sat at different lunch tables, and generally lived and let live. And either Brenda or I would be sitting in a Taiwanese jail cell facing attempted murder charges. Parents, your child may or may not find himself on a small island literally half a world away. But I can promise you this. On a small island or college campus or whatever awaits your child outside the walls of New Covenant, they will face challenges. Those challenges will be diverse, they will be numerous, and they will be constant. I can't begin to imagine what challenges I will face as I go to college next year, let alone what challenges someone else will face as they do different things under different circumstances. But there is good news. That news is that if your child takes the lessons they learn in New Covenant, both in and out of the classroom, to heart, they will be more capable of facing those challenges with a smile, and even while challenged, they will be strong in faith and powerful witnesses for the strength and goodness of Christ and his followers. They will be blameless and innocent children of God, without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom they shine like stars in the universe. Before I go, I want to congratulate my fellow graduating seniors. Connor, your analytical mind and natural curiosity will serve you well, either as a journalist or down whatever unforeseen path God has for you. Christine, I'm sorry that we never met, and I wish I could say something to you in particular, but I do know one thing about you. You're on this stage tonight. You graduated from New Covenant. And as a New Covenant graduate, I know that you have both the talent and the training to excel in whatever field you are called to. Finally, I want to thank some people without whom I would not be here today. I want to thank the staff and faculty, both old and new at New Covenant. My teachers from when I was a student exemplify the saying, always preach. When necessary, use words. They carefully fostered my talents, encouraged me when I despaired, and kept me from harming myself and others on the all too often occasions when I was about to make a complete jackass of myself. I can't say for sure, but from what I saw, I am confident that the new generation of New Covenant teachers have preserved the legacy of their predecessors, while contributing their own individuality to the culture of New Covenant. I want to thank my fellow classmates for tolerating me when I was at my most intolerable, and for reaching out to me when I was at my most withdrawn. I want to thank my wonderful parents, Steve and Jean Spearman. If I tried to make a list of all the things my parents have done for me, it could only be an insult to the pages and pages of things that I would need to leave out. I want to thank Mr. Canny for allowing me to remain enrolled at New Covenant in absentia for my year abroad, and I want to thank Rotary International for giving me the opportunity to spend this year abroad. I'd like to thank the members of Jutian English Language Church, my church in Taiwan, and the pastor and his wife, Michael and Sandy Haggard in particular, who so lovingly welcomed me and showed me that Christianity thrives all across the globe. Also, Michael is my cameraman for this recording. But now I'm just throwing meaningless, decontextualized names at you, which is a pretty good sign that I'm out of things to say. If you want to talk to me live, I may or may not be on Skype, on an iPad in the lobby, depending on whether or not they could get the text sorted out. Thank you, and God bless you all. Good night.